tutorial will help you get started in After Effects. The first thing you want to do anytime you're starting a new project is create a folder on the desktop. You can either hit Control click, New Folder, or go up to the File menu and choose New Folder. Title your folder. And if you notice, right now I have a lot of files on my desktop. This is a dangerous situation when you're working in After Effects. You want to keep all your media, your shapes, objects, footage, whatever you're working with, in one folder. And we're going to make sure we put all of our media in the folder that we create. After you've created your folder, launch After Effects. You are going to start a new project. And we're going to select New Composition. You should title your composition. I'm just going to choose Title Practice. And then we have presets that we can choose. We're going to stick with the default for today, which is HDTV 1080 2997. The width refers to the width of the frame that we'll be creating in, and the height, and we'll stick with 1920 by 1080. Square pixels, our frame rate will be 2997, and if we decide to shoot in a different frame rate, we'll make a different choice, and I'll help you with that later on. Start time code should always begin at 0, and the duration, we're going to stick with 30 seconds. What you need to understand with time code is the last 2 digits refer to frames, the next 2 are seconds, the next are minutes, and then hours. So we're going to stick to 30 seconds for our practice. And then we click OK. Now we're in our environment where we can begin to work. And let's orient to this environment. Up in the upper left-hand corner are our tools that we'll be using. Today we'll mostly be using our type tool and maybe our shape tool. One thing to be careful with is that when you're not using a particular tool, you really want to stay on the selection tool. That will always keep you out of trouble. So if you're not sure what you're going to do, I hit V on the keyboard or I click on the selection tool, so I'm not activating any of my tools. This panel is the project panel, and that's where if we're going to import any objects or shapes or footage, we would import them into this panel. Below is our timeline, and as you can see, it starts at 0 seconds and ends at 30. We can zoom in and out on the timeline, and as we zoom in, you can see the timeline changes to frames. And we'll zoom back out to keep it at 30. The layers that we'll create, we'll see down in this panel and in the timeline. And whatever we create, we'll create in this canvas area. So I'm going to go ahead and add some text. And if I click on the text tool, I'm just going to choose regular horizontal type. And I'm going to type in my name. As you can see down here in the timeline, I have my first layer, and it's a text layer. It's a text layer because we see the T, and we actually see the text in the name box. I can change the size of my font or my font by selecting it. And then in my Properties panel on the right, I could choose a different font and I could change the size. And then if I go back up and select my selection tool, now I can move it anywhere in the frame that I want. And I'm going to keep it right in the center. I could also change the colors. I could make it bright red or a blue. And I could also add a stroke. Now I have stroke and fill. And you'll see those properties are over here. And that's how you just create simple text. If I want another text element in the frame, I want to make sure that I click off of the current layer, and I always click in the gray box down here, and I know the layer is not selected, and then I can go up to my text tool and click, and now I have another text layer. It's independent, and that's important because if I want to animate each of these layers separately, they must be separate layers. I can click on the selection tool and I'm going to move Ms. up at the top. And that's how to create text and separate text layers.